I've always loved fishing. The calm ripples of the water, the gentle breeze, the silence broken only by the sound of nature. It used to bring peace to my soul. But what happened to me last summer changed everything. I've never touched a fishing rod again. It happened in a remote Chinese village called Luoping, a place where time seems frozen, and when night falls, darkness isn't just absence of light, it feels like something alive. I was just another American tourist, looking to escape the noise of my world and find solace in a land foreign yet serene. A friend of mine, Mark, had once told me about a lake in Luoping. There's a place called Bao, a lake so still, you don't just see your reflection in it, you see your soul. His words felt poetic back then. Now they haunt me. The lake was just as Mark had described, crystal clear, untouched. It was oddly beautiful and eerily still. I pitched my tent near the edge, collected some firewood, and set up my fishing gear. Not a single soul in sight. That solitude felt refreshing, at least in the beginning. As the sun dipped below the mountains, a strange chill settled in, not just around me, but inside me, like someone had reached into my chest and brushed my heart with ice. I ignored it. I had planned to stay 2 days. My car was parked on the ridge not far behind. There was no reason to panic, but the night, that first night, was anything but ordinary. Around midnight, I heard something, a soft, echoing laugh, like that of a woman. At first, I brushed it off as the wind playing tricks, but the laugh grew louder, closer, like it was moving across the lake toward me. I grabbed my flashlight and rushed to the water's edge. The lake was dead still. Then I saw it, a silhouette just beneath the surface. A figure crouched, peering up at me, and her eyes, God, those eyes. They weren't human. They were hollow, like staring into a void. I stumbled backward, falling into the dirt. By the time I gathered the courage to look again, the silhouette had vanished. When I woke up, my fishing rod was gone. Not just that, my backpack with all my food and gear had disappeared too. I tried convincing myself it was an animal. Maybe I misplaced it, but deep down, I knew something was off. I debated leaving, but something in me wanted to stay. Maybe curiosity, maybe pride, maybe I wanted to prove the fear wrong. That afternoon across the lake, I saw someone, an old man, standing with a small wooden boat. He looked like part of the land itself, weathered, silent. I walked around to him, surprised when he greeted me in perfect English. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Just fishing," I replied. "Who are you?" "My name is Chun. I lost my wife here." "How did she die?" I asked. "Bao took her," he said without hesitation. "Bao? You mean the lake?" "Yes. Bao is alive. It doesn't drown people. It chooses them. It feeds on those who are alone." His eyes never blinked. "You're alone, aren't you? That's why it's calling you." I didn't know what to say. His voice was calm, but every word dropped like a cold pebble in my gut. I tried to sleep that night, but the wind carried whispers. Not just laughter, words. A woman's voice, singing, mourning. I looked out again. She was there, clearer this time. A woman in a soaked white dress, standing on the surface of the lake. Her hair dripped over her face. Her arms hung like broken branches. Her eyes locked on mine, empty, endless. I dropped my flashlight. By the time I picked it up, she was gone. I zipped up my tent and didn't close my eyes for the rest of the night. Next morning, I returned to Chun. "Who is she?" I demanded. "She was my wife. She killed herself when she couldn't have children. Now she's part of Bao, a spirit trapped in grief. She calls out to those who are alone." I swallowed hard. "So, I'm going to die?" "If you stay, yes." I didn't wait another second. I ran to the ridge. But when I got there, my car was gone. Gone. Like it was never there. I searched for hours, slept in the open. The second night was worse. The voice, the figure. They didn't come from the lake anymore. They came from behind me. For 2 days, I wandered the woods. No food, no water. I was sure I'd die. On the third morning, a local farmer found me collapsed near the trail. He carried me back to his village. I was hospitalized for dehydration and mental trauma, but I survived. Yet even now, years later, I still hear her. Sometimes when I'm near water, I hear her laughter. Sometimes in dreams, I see her standing in the lake, reaching out, whispering, "Come back, you belong to me now." This is an incident from my life that I've never been able to forget. I tried many times to dismiss it as a bad dream, a hallucination, or a misunderstanding. But what happened that day was not a coincidence. It was all deliberate, planned, and terrifying. My name is Hamza. I come from a small town in Punjab. Since childhood, I've loved being close to nature, sitting under trees, listening to the birds chirp, and above all, fishing. My father was also a hunter, and he taught me how to fish when I was young. But this story is not about hunting. It's about the hunter becoming the hunted. It all happened the year I came home for vacation from university in Lahore. The summer heat was at its peak, and I was looking for a quiet place to relax. One of my old friends, Ali, suggested we go to Daniel Lake. "People don't go there," I said. "Have you heard the stories about that place?" Ali laughed. "Yeah, all nonsense. Some old folks call it cursed. But bro, for people like us who love fishing, that lake is a hidden treasure. No one goes there, so the fish are in plenty." My curiosity was piqued. We decided to go the next day. Early in the morning, we packed up our fishing gear and drove toward the lake. It was about 2 hours away from the city, and the last stretch was a dirt road, surrounded by trees and wild bushes. The closer we got, the heavier the silence around us became. When we reached the lakeside, the view was stunning. The water was still, eerily still, as if someone was holding their breath and watching us. There wasn't even the sound of birds. Ali joked, "Looks like everything here is on vacation too." We set our boat into the water and started rowing toward the center of the lake. The water had gentle ripples, but there was a strange suffocation in the air, as if we had entered another world. Ali cast his fishing rod into the water while I sat on the other end, scanning the surroundings with binoculars. Suddenly, Ali's rod twitched. He shouted excitedly, "Man, this really is a treasure. It's huge." We kept fishing for a long while. We had caught 4 or 5 large fish. The sunlight was beginning to fade a little. I checked the time. It was 5:30 p.m. "Should we think about heading back?" I asked. Ali replied, "Just 10 more minutes. I don't feel like leaving yet." I nodded and lay back in the boat. As soon as I closed my eyes, I felt like someone had called my name. "Hamza!" I opened my eyes with a jolt. Ali was sitting in front of me, still focused on his rod. "Did you say something?" Ali shook his head. "Nope." I brushed it off. "Probably just tired, or my imagination." But then the same voice again, closer this time, softer. "Hamza, come down." I leaned over and looked into the water. It was crystal clear. I could see all the way to the bottom. And down there I saw a shadow, like a person, but completely black. I immediately looked away. My heart began to pound. "Ali, let's go. Something feels wrong." Ali looked at me. "Are you getting scared too? It's just in your head." But then he went quiet. "What happened?" I asked. Ali whispered, "I think something just touched my leg." I leaned over and looked into the water. Nothing was visible. Then Ali screamed and jumped off the boat into the water. "Ali! Ali!" I yelled. I leaned over the boat to look into the water, but he had vanished. The water went still again, as if nothing had happened. I quickly started the engine and tried to steer the boat toward the shore, but the boat wouldn't move. It felt like something had grabbed it from below. I tried with all my strength, but it wouldn't budge. And then the voice returned. "I told you, come down." A hand emerged from the water, completely black, and grabbed the side of the boat. I stumbled back, my heart in my throat. Then a second hand, then a face, white glowing eyes. And the face, it was Ali's, but the eyes, not human. "Ali," I said, my voice trembling. The face smiled. "We take everyone down. Now it's your turn." I grabbed the knife lying nearby and started stabbing blindly into the water. Screams echoed from below, as if multiple souls were wailing in agony at once. Suddenly the boat shook violently, and then it was free. Without looking back, I turned the boat toward the shore. By the time I reached the edge of the lake, it was already dark. My breathing was ragged, my heart pounding. I turned back and looked at the lake. It was calm again, still, as if nothing had ever happened. I reported the incident to the police, but they dismissed it as a delusion. Ali was never found. His name slowly faded from everywhere. Even his family withdrew the missing person report a few days later, as if he had never existed. But I know where Ali went. He's still there. And even now on sleepless nights, I still hear that voice. Hamza, come down. The rest are waiting. Behind my house in Parsonsfield, Maine, there's a hidden lake, a place so isolated, it feels untouched by human presence. It's been a quiet corner of my life for years. Every time I'd go there, it felt as though the entire world fell silent. The crisp air, the rustling birch leaves, and the soft waves of the lake always brought me peace. I had my kayak tied to the roof, and on quiet days I'd just sling it over to the lake without thinking twice. Sometimes I wondered if someone might steal it, but no one ever came to this secluded place, so I felt more peace than fear. One humid summer evening, I went there again. I parked the kayak under a large laurel tree, covered it up, and stood by the edge to fish. A few trout landed in my basket early on. They were a promising start. As time passed, the sun dipped toward the horizon, and the light began to fade behind the branches. I thought maybe tonight would be special. I'd catch something big or just spend a few peaceful hours on the still water. A suspicious scene in the first fear. As the calm began to shift toward eerie silence, I suddenly felt a strange sense of separation, like someone was watching me from a distance. I moved my eyes just slightly and saw a man standing by the water's edge. He was tilting over a barrel, pouring some kind of thick liquid into the lake. It looked red, almost like blood, though the twilight made it hard to confirm the color. Suddenly, it felt like all the air had frozen in place. I called out, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" Startled, he jerked upright and bolted into the forest. But the way he ran, erratic, panicked, was unsettling. I stepped closer to see the liquid. It looked dark, like a chemical, or blood. My body tensed. A chill surged through me. A turn over red for lures. I righted in the Frida, the return home in lingering panic. I dragged the kayak back toward the tree and packed up my gear quickly. Every step felt heavy, my heartbeat loud in my ears. The rustling leaves around me no longer whispered peace. Now, they screamed. As I walked home, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following me. Every flash of light, every stretch of shadow felt like a threat waiting to reveal itself. I reached home, locked the door behind me, and went straight to the microwave to heat up dinner. But my eyes stayed glued to the windows and door. Every corner of the house felt vulnerable. Then, suddenly, a knock at the door. My breath froze. My heart thudded like a drum. I glanced toward the window. Soft light spilled out from inside. And then a voice. "Excuse me, I think you saw me by the lake. I just wanted to explain." End quote. I prayed the door would stay shut, that maybe police would pass by, but I firmly refused to open it. "I'll only talk if you let me in." End quote. I yelled back, "I'm calling the police right now," quote. He fell silent, then quietly disappeared from view. But inside, I was still trembling. I called the non-emergency police line and also filed an online report with the Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, just in case. Around 2 a.m., my first real jolt of fear came from downstairs, the sound of glass shattering. I jumped out of bed, grabbed my Glock, and crept down the hallway. I could hear faint footsteps on the stairs, slow, deliberate. My hand tightened on the weapon as I pointed it toward the stairwell. "Get on the ground now," I yelled, flashlight beams slicing the dark. But what I saw wasn't what I expected. A shadowy figure stood there, holding a small knife. His face was pale, bearded, with a blank stare. "I'll leave," quote. "No one has to know," quote, he muttered. Terrified, I didn't let him get closer. He turned and fled out the door. I immediately relocked it and called 911. When the police arrived, they found the broken glass, the footprints in the hallway, and the eerie silence of the night outside. I described everything: his appearance, his voice, the barrel, the lake, the home intrusion. White male, short beard, bald head, glasses, black shirt and trousers. Next morning, my brother Dale came over with another friend. We installed new glass, reinforced the doors, and added night locks. Dale stayed with me a few days just to keep me calm. I saved all the reports, police, DEP, even my own written statement, but I couldn't shake the questions. Was that liquid actually blood? Could it have been human remains? Why did he bring a barrel there in the first place? Did he come back because he saw me? Nothing made sense. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about environmental safety. This was a violation of human safety. I decided no more solo trips to the lake. I'd always go with friends. I reinforced the home, added security lights, hidden alarms, cameras. I changed my life. Time passed, but the quiet of night still felt longer than usual. Every little creak or sound made me jump. But in a strange way, it made me stronger too. The lesson? If something feels wrong, trust your instinct. Silence isn't always peace. Sometimes, silence hides predators. Now my home is fortified. Solid locks, lights, cameras, good neighbors. I live smarter, more aware. But the scar remains. It may never fully heal. Still, I didn't stop living. Let's see right now. No more. Why they jump at north. This is the things at my deal story. If you don't matches, the light starts song, and not normally. This story isn't just my experience. It's a tale of the thin veil between